So I don't have any symptoms. I have no swelling of my thyroid gland. So I'm not getting any of the swelling. My face was like severely swollen on one side, and I'm not getting that, like the Hashimoto face or the eyes. I haven't had any of those symptoms. And
I know you mentioned that you are symptom free, or most of your symptoms are gone. Could you share more about your progress, and then we'll help you plan your next steps?
okay, great. Yeah, so when I started, I had already like low antibodies, so it was like around 140 for Hashimoto's, but I still have the fatty liver, and I still have like, the stress and insomnia and the fatigue, which was like pretty much the main thing for me to reverse, because if you don't have the energy, that means that you're like, to me, it was like, based on what I know, it's like you're damaged to the cellular level and you're not eating the right foods. Like I had lost the weight and then I started gaining it back, which for me, it's mainly, it relates to my fatty liver and, my metabolic disorder, which I was diagnosed with. And the main thing for me it was pretty much, the hormones, balancing the hormones. And that's what I've been struggling with for the most part. I've noticed, like my symptoms, like the joint pain. I don't have joint pain, but unfortunately back in August last year, I was in an accident. So nothing major, but still, I got herniated disc from it, and I had to do a couple of epidural shots, which kind of lost sleep. They do give you a side effect is insomnia from that, which kind of like, even throughout the program, I know sleep is very important, but even without getting the proper sleep, I have like amazing energy that I never had before. Even when I was 20, I mean, I'm 44 now, but like even, when I was 20, I don't remember waking up and having energy pretty much. And then the digestive issues, constipation, and I used to take like 600 milligrams of magnesium in order to have regular bowel movements at least once every 2 days. I haven't taken not even one pill magnesium since I've been on the program, and everything is fine. As far as like so I don't have any symptoms. I have no swelling of my thyroid gland. I used to get it from time to time. Like I would see it. I didn't need an ultrasound because I can see it in the mirror. It was that bad. So I'm not getting any of the swelling. My face was like severely swollen on one side, and I'm not getting that, like the Hashimoto face or the eyes, where they kind of pop out a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm sure there is a term for it. I haven't had any of those symptoms. And even the sleep quality, even if I'm going to bed late, I'm not waking up at night. No sweating, no, because with Hashimoto, sometimes you get like almost like menopausal symptoms. And I haven't had those, given I'm doing some herbal supplements recommended from the doctor, which helped me before the program. But I've been reducing, instead of taking like 8 pills a day, I'm taking 4, and I'm not getting any symptoms. So I think
very good.
It's amazing. And I mean, I try to, do the best that I could throughout the program. Like I never cheated, or even when I was out, I just made sure that I ate the right things. And even with the accident, the inflammation, just by the inflammation going down, like I do have a little bit of pain, not like before. I used to wake up with a lot of pain, like 6 out of 10, which was really bad, even after the epidural shots. So I don't get that pain anymore.
Yes, very good. I'm so happy for you. And also, because you worked with a lot of doctors, how would you say this was different? Like functional doctors, I know we provide education also, but how would you say maybe the process itself was different from functional doctors, or maybe nutritionists, whoever you worked with?
I have worked with nutritionists as when I was first diagnosed with liver fibrosis, and I had to cyst in my liver. which they thought that it was actually cancerous. They didn't know because there was so much fat in the liver that, you know, it didn't have like a regular, it had an irregular shape because of the fat. And they wanted to do a biopsy actually. So the one, like my hepatologist actually recommended that I increase my protein, which I did for a while and it didn't feel right. They also wanted me to, and he's actually a very good hepatologist, but as far as, you know, giving you recommendations on what to eat, I don't think he has any experience on that. I tried so hard, even with my doctors, to kind of see what I can benefit from. And they said, well, this is not reversible. You just have to treat it pretty much. And you have to do hormonal, you know, therapy, which I said from day one, like 6 years ago, I said no to it, you know? So it's very, very different. They just don't believe in, you know, reversing anything. They just believe in treating. And, you know, it just, actually, like when I go to my primary care physician, she wants to learn from me what I've done because she sees improvements, you know, overall. And I mean, I've read a lot of books and I've read a lot of, you know, like peer-reviewed journals and things like that, you know, but never come close to what you guys have been doing, you know, where I felt great for like a couple of days, but then everything was, you know, going back to normal, pretty much what I've done in the past. So, you know, it's a completely, it's like night and day. I mean, I keep on saying this is like my new religion because I started to believe, you know, again, that I could reverse this. You know, I knew there was an answer somewhere. I just didn't know where. And I guess you guys are the answer to the problems that I've had.
Yes, so that's why, because I think a lot of people are overwhelmed with how much information is there. They can work with a doctor, nutritionist, functional doctor, and we always try to, you know, clarify how we're different. But I'm glad you were able to, I think you were in a mailing list, right? You were reading some of the emails. Is that how you joined us on Facebook first, but then you start reading emails?
Yes, yes. Initially, I had joined on Facebook and I had sent a request, I think, and then somebody from your group called me, Noelle, right?
Yes, Noelle worked with us.
Yeah, so I spoke, but at the time when I spoke to her, I wish I had started earlier. I just didn't know, you know, and I spoke to her multiple times. She was asking, very kind, you know, she was asking how, you know, I was doing, but I was in the middle of figuring out with my doctors what my diagnosis was. And, you know, I had like multiple of my organs were affected at the time. So I went for, because my triglycerides were 724. Given I was going through like a very stressful situation at work, which I kind of removed myself from it. And I just said, you know, this is not for me. But it was the food as well, you know, and so they didn't understand why, you know, I'm still like a smaller person, I would say. So they're like, oh, you look fine, you know, and I'm like, you don't see inflammation, you know, sometimes, you know, yeah, I have water weight, but I'm still like a size 2, you know, and people connect everything to what you appear to be, and they forget about how you feel. So, and then when I spoke to Noelle a couple of times, you know, and I was waiting, in the meantime, I was waiting for my doctors to find a solution for me. It just didn't happen. So then I said, let me just schedule the call and see what they can do for me, because I was getting better and I was getting worse. My liver enzymes went up to like 184 in the meantime. Speaking to you and seeing, you know, your Facebook page, and sounded very promising.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And that's why I'm glad they decided to do it. I had a check-in with a past client who had Hashimoto's, and in 2 weeks, her symptoms were gone. And it's already been 6 months since we worked with her, and she's still symptom-free. So we always share on our page how other clients healing, so that way it motivates everyone. that it's possible for them as well.
Very good. I mean, like spreading this, especially your Facebook page for people to actually start believing in it. It's very, very important. So I would love to see others achieve what I have achieved through your program. My sister has autoimmune, and it's been very hard, convincing her, even though she sees the results. I cannot wait until I do my blood work or until I'm like 6 months in where she sees actual, reversal results. I'm very patient, and I know it takes a little bit of time. But like I think some people are like harder to convince, but eventually I think when you show the results that other patients have had, I'm sure more people will try this instead of like Western medicine or like medication. I mean, thank God I said no to medication and I made lifestyle changes ahead of time. And that's another reason why I'm such a strong believer in this, because I still go to my doctors and they're like, oh, your thyroid is fine. Even though you have Hashimoto's, my thyroid, hormones were never out of balance. It's mainly like estrogen and, other hormones, but I never had any problems with my thyroid, even with like the swelling, and it was like temporary for a couple of days. So maybe that's why I'm like, and then when they put me on medication, I didn't respond well to it. I just had very bad side effects right away. So I felt like doing this the natural way and with food and nutrition much better than taking medication. So that's another reason why like I kind of have a strong belief.
Like you learned in a class today, that you create all of the food we eat goes through our DNA, and it triggers and triggers our genes, so you can create a completely new healthy body that didn't have autoimmune disease, and over time you will get healthy and more benefits. Because my sister and I follow it, so we see it in ourselves. Because we used to have a lot of acne in the early 20s, a lot of hair loss, gut issues. I had a lot, and I was sick all the time. I always get a tonsillitis. It wouldn't go away. Like it would be there for a month, and then it would come back 2 months, 3 months later. So definitely it works.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like, because we moved here from Albania about 25 years ago, and we had no processed foods at all.
Yes.
But I came here in the early 90s or mid 90s, and I was introduced to, I remember I was 99 pounds when I moved to this country, and I'm 5'7". I was perfectly fine. I was healthy, but going to the doctor here, they thought that I was not healthy. So they told me to go and eat McDonald's for a month straight to gain weight.
Oh my God. Wow.
And then I started having problems. Like I had problems concentrating. I mean, I was always a good student, but I just didn't understand why I had problems concentrating, or, I would get sick, or I would get like, even like, anxiety, a lot of anxiety. And I feel like I've had autoimmune since I moved here, because of the change of diet. You don't see the symptoms until much later in life. Like, like all of a sudden at like 38, that's when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And even that, my doctor couldn't diagnose me until I started like researching, kind of matching up the symptoms with what I had read. And I went to my endocrinologist and I asked her, I said, can you test me for autoimmune or, Hashimoto's? I said, I think that's what I have. So she did, and that's what I had actually.
You did your own research because you were doing things, getting better and healthier, and then you found that. So now you know exactly what you need to do to get back to your optimal health. So all of this is reversible. We have kids with autoimmune diseases who are genetically, there's a genetic component, but our genes can trigger and untrigger. So that's why I'm so glad that you did all this for yourself, so you can be healthy, and for your family, you can teach them. So that's what we want, is so there's less people who are sick. in the world. It starts with one person. So
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I mean, it's like, it's really amazing, you know, and it just, I can't wait to like go and see my doctor. And one of my doctors, she has a patient who's actually, she said she has scleroderma, and she's dying from it. It's very severe. So I gave them your information, but then it's going from me to a doctor, and then from the doctor to the patient. And sometimes I'm like, maybe they think that I'm crazy for saying that this thing works, because doctors don't really believe in, you know, like reversing sometimes. You know, there's certain doctors that are open-minded. You know, some doctors, they just don't believe in it. So she said that she gave the patient the information.
yes, scleroderma, it's a rare autoimmune disease. We actually had people who worked with us with scleroderma. We had a 23-year-old girl, and she became diagnosed with scleroderma 4 years before coming to us. And in only 30 days, all her symptoms were gone. And because she's so young, she had arthritis, she already had joint pain, she had gut issues, she had skin issues, and she was able to basically go into remission while she was getting better and was stable. And we also had a lady who got diagnosed with scleroderma. She had Hashimoto's, and then 20 years later, she had scleroderma, and she was able to get better as well. So whether doctors don't believe, what they have to see is evidence. People's symptoms are improving and their labs are improving. So that's all we need to share, for people to be open that, can a person feel better? They can always feel better, regardless what's going on to them. But I hope she's getting, you know, good medical treatment, but also definitely it would help her get her nutrition right, so it can help her recover faster, even start getting better, rather than use the medicine to suppress the symptom, but she can actually start healing. So thank you for giving us opportunity to work with you. And yes, so please stay in touch with us, Laura, okay?